This is the evening news of Friday, November 7, 2014. I'm Michael Young. Thanks for joining us. Making the headlines tonight, the APNU says finance not a requirement for going into elections. Opposition finalizes plans for no confidence motion. Williams Gopal clash over collective bargaining. Hope Canal project to meet deadline. Coate's 39th meeting opened with great expectations, and former minister's daughter admitted to the bar. It's now time for the news in detail. A Partnership for National Unity says that the coalition does not need money to campaign to win at the next general elections. Instead, the support of the people will put them into office. Her details in this report.
Leader of the opposition, David Granger, has reaffirmed that his party is ready for both general and local government elections, noting that it does not need large sums of money for campaigning activities. He made this statement during the APNU's weekly press conference on Friday. According to Granger, the support of the fed-up public will be APNU's ticket to get into government.
The elections will be won by a population which is fed up with the PPP. It will be won by voters who have turned against the PPP, who are fed up with Annalgate, they're fed up with Priagate, they're fed up with Ashnigate, and they want to get out and just have a new government. Whether they have money or not, people are fed up with the PPP. Really.
The opposition leader disclosed that his party has begun campaigns for the local government elections since 13 months ago. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the APNU, Joseph Harmon, pointed out that the PPP's consistent bashing of the Guyana Elections Commission over the past few weeks is a clear indication that the ruling party is creating the conditions for crying foul after they lose the election.
This is what he's doing. He's preparing the wicket now. It's like if you prepare an appeal for a case that you know you will lose. So they're complaining about GCOM this and GCOM that. But it's important to note that the person we complained about, Mr. Gokul Buru, at the last elections and the one before, is the main and principal advisor to the PPP administration now. So all of these things they're complaining about are things which he should have done when he was there. So we have to basically understand clearly that this is what Mr. Roy is doing, and every week he's finding something new to complain about GCOM. All we want is a fair process that would ensure that once the people go out there and vote, that their votes are counted very quickly and speedily, and then we are declared the winners.
Harmon noted that moving forward, the coalition will be intensifying its protest demonstrations ahead of the likely staging of elections next year. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manik-chan.
A Partnership for National Unity says government is attempting to avoid the scrutiny of the public following statements made by President Ramatar over the past week. Vanu Manik-chan has details in this report.
Leader of the opposition David Granger is claiming that President Donald Ramatar's political gamesmanship is a dangerous departure from democratic norms. He was referring to the president's announcement that he would either prorogue or dissolve Parliament if the opposition fails to deal with several important matters on Monday and forges ahead with its no-confidence motion. He said that such an announcement can only be seen as a cowardly attempt to avoid debate on the performance of the Donald Ramatar's cabinet and his presidency.
It is not a democratic solution to political problems. The Parliament is intended to be a place for discussion, debate, decision-making, and the passage of laws. Prorogation is a dangerous gambit intended to paralyze the parliamentary process, but can have unintended and unpredictable consequences. The President should face the debate on the PPPC's record in office, rather than hide under the cover of prorogation. The President has obstructed the reconvening of Parliament for 1 month from 10th of October to 10th of November. He infringed on the Speaker's authority and intruded officiously into the affairs of the legislative branch.
According to Granger, there is no state of emergency that would cause the President to take such actions.
It's a question of cause and consequence. This is not just an invention on the part of a malicious opposition. This is the response to misbehavior by the government. And what the president needed to have done is to have a cabinet which behaves in an orderly and lawful manner. What we're seeing now is the consequence of 3 years of misbehavior.
The parliamentary opposition has tabled a motion of no confidence against the ruling party. The combined opposition has remained adamant and steadfast that the motion will be the first matter to be dealt with when the sitting of the National Assembly resumes on Monday. Reporting for the Evening News, Fanu Manakchan.
In this report, we hear that the head of the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Lionel Woodsworth, is positive that the Hope Canal project will be fully completed by the end of the year, as was previously announced by the ministry. Here details.
Head of the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Lionel Woodsworth, is confident that with works moving apace, the completion of the Hope Canal Conservancy project is on track to meet its year-end deadline. According to Wordsworth, the channel and embankment is about 93% completed, while adding that there were some minor changes in the design of the embankment. The NDI had explained that because the embankment is earthen, it had to be constructed in stages to allow the material to drain and dry.
We couldn't have achieved the height that we desired to have this embankment by placing all the clay material at one go. This had to be done in stages, allow the material to drain and dried out a bit. Also, for some shrinkages would have occurred during that period.
Wordsworth noted that the mud to construct the embankment had to be acquired off-site, and pontoons are being used to transport it to the site. This, he added, is speeding up the process as the remaining works on the channel is moving apace. However, the NDIA had noted that the completion of the project is highly dependent on the completion of the 8-gate high-level discharge sluice. He noted that there are various construction works ongoing at the outer sluice.
They have gone a far way. All the abutment walls of the structure has been completed, the floor slab, all the intermediate walls. By Saturday, all the concrete weir would be completed. In the coming week, they'll be pouring concrete for the bridge. As you're aware, the gates have already been fabricated under a separate contract, and installation will be commenced shortly. So what would be remaining now is the gallows posts for the structure, the gantry beam, and the skirt protection. And in parallel, they're acquiring the material now to commence work on the skirt protection. So is more than one construction activity is taking place.
Upon the completion of the $6.3 billion project, it will allow excess water from the Conservancy to be drained into the canal through a 3-door sluice at the southern end. It will then run along the excavated channel into the Atlantic Ocean via the 8-door high discharge sluice structure. The gate has already been completed by the Guyana National Industrial Company. Reporting for the Evening News, Fanu Manakchan.
Today, the Alliance for Change, backed by a Partnership for National Unity, finalized its game plan in moving ahead with a no-confidence motion on Monday during the first sitting after recess. Details in this Svetlana Marshall story.
With the unanimous, unequivocal and unwavering support of the Partnership for National Unity APNU, the Alliance for Change AFC said the no-confidence motion will be given precedence. But when it will be done during Monday's sitting is still being finalized, AFC Moses Nagamutu said.
We have to look at how the government intends to proceed, because the President has addressed the nation and alerted the nation as to a possibility, either or. And we have to be able to plan a strategy that would meet either or. And I do not believe that as much as we have some ideas at this point in time, that we would want to let this out.
In light of President Donald Ramatar announcing his intention to dissolve or prorogue Parliament if there are any interruptions by the opposition, Nagamutu opined that the government has a plot to block the motion during the sitting.
I can anticipate that this frightened government, this cowardly government, would perhaps already have a supplementary or extraordinary issue of the official gazette waiting there to announce a prorogation in order to disrupt the sit-in and to prevent the motion from proceeding. So I could see that as a possibility, is that they would try to come at a certain time in the proceedings of the House on Monday, where if they know that the next item on the table is no confidence motion, they will try to abort and they try to trigger the prorogation.
According to him, the government has reached a pathetic low, contending that it is engaging in a spineless strategy. AFC Member of Parliament Cathy Hughes bashed the government over its apparent attempt to trade off the local government elections.
Local government elections is not a concession to be granted by the President if or when he chooses. It is a constitutional guarantee, much as our rights as Guyanese are guaranteed by the Constitution. Will the President choose which of our rights as citizens we will enjoy and which will be subverted? This sort of abuse of our Constitution must be brought to an end. Furthermore, the PPP is aware that under the present legislative arrangements, the Minister of Local Government, who has the authority for all local government democratic organs, has failed to issue the commencement order for the Local Government Commission to come into effect. It is likely that the Local Government Commission could suffer the same fate as the Public Procurement Commission and never ever see the light of day under the PPP.
Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
Thanks, Svetlana. Marissa Nadir, daughter of former Labour Minister Mansour Nadir, was today admitted to the bar. Royden James was there and he filed this report.
Marissa Nadir, another young Guyanese lawyer, was today called to the bar of Guyana. Her petition was read by attorney at law Stephen Fraser in the presence of Chief Justice Ian Chang, First Lady Deolachmi Ramatar, Attorney General Anil Nandlal, and her father, former Minister of Labour Mansour Nadir. Nadir then shared with the Evening News her journey to becoming a successful lawyer.
Well, I started school in St. Lucia, so I did primary school there. I went to the Carmen Rennie Memorial. Then I came back to Ghana. I was at Stella Morris. After writing Common Entrance, I gained a spot at Queen's College. So after graduating in 1999, I went on to study at the University of Guyana. I started off doing international relations and then I entered the law program. I graduated in 2005 with my law degree.
Okay. Apart from being a lawyer, what are some of the activities you've been involved in?
I have been involved in several activities. I've been involved in cultural activities because I've danced for 20-something years. I've been politically involved with elections throughout the Caribbean, not only restricted to Guyana alone, and also, well, my educational.
Well, now that your dream has finally come true as a lawyer, what are your plans, future plans in the profession?
Right now, I'm going into private practice, so I will be doing general practice, no particular area in terms of specializing as yet. As I progress, then I will see. I have a particular fondness for company law, though.
So have you been undergoing any training as of late before being admitted to the bar?
Not any dedicated training. I did work with the new GPC Inc. for the last 5 years, and that is when I realized that I actually liked company law. So because of my experience working with them, that is how come I decided to.
Nadir said too that there are a number of persons who contributed to her success, namely Mr. Ranji Singh Bobby Ramrup, Ms. Bibi Shadiq, Attorney General Anil Nandlal, her family members, among many others. Royden James reporting for the Evening News.
This is the Evening News. Join us on the other side of the break for more news. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with the Evening News. Attorney representing the interest of the People's National Congress, Basil Williams, at the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry today, accused the Labour Minister Nanda Gopal and the current PPP government of failing to hold collective bargaining with the working class. Here's Alexis Rodney with this story.
Gopal was at the time under cross-examination on the final day of the 6th session of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry at the Supreme Court Library Building, Georgetown. His evidence was grounded in the mistreatment meted out to the working class, particularly sugar workers, during the reign of the PNC government between 1978 and 1980. Gopal had testified and on the cross-examination reiterated that the PNC government was not involved in collective bargaining with the people. It was at this point that Williams lashed out at the Labour Minister, contending that the current PPP government has not had any collective bargaining with the public service workers since 2001. Rather, what government does, he argued, is to impose a 5% increase to salaries at the end of each year. But Gopal, in denial, maintained that his ministry has had several agreements signed by unions year after year. He admitted, however, that government has not been able to reach a reasonable consensus with the Guyana Public Service Union because of some unending issues. He said government has been prudent and has been taking into account the recommendations made by the International Labour Organization, which states that if government and the people could not come to an agreement, government has the prerogative to implement wage increases in times of economic crisis. Just last month, the GPSU had threatened to take action against government if it failed to meet its end of the bargain in addressing the issues affecting members of the public sector. President of the union, Patrick Yard, had said that if government could not act responsibly and meet with the union to address issues surrounding wages and salaries, it may take industrial action. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
President Donald Ramatar underscored the importance of the church and religious organizations in promoting harmony across the region as he addressed the Caribbean Baptist Fellowship General Assembly. More details from Svetlana Marshall.
The 2014 Caribbean Baptist Fellowship General Assembly opened on Thursday at the National Cultural Center in the presence of President Donald Ramatar and leader of the opposition, David Granger. In his address, President Ramatar expressed pleasure in the fact that the church continues to promote unity across the region, citing the Baptist Fellowship General Assembly as a perfect example.
It's good to see that the Baptist Church has recognized our oneness in this way and have been holding these conferences. And I think it's good because it's not only government institutions that must come together to make Caribbean unity a reality, but other types of organization, and the church has a very important role.
In addition to fostering unity, the president reiterated that the church continues to play a leading role in grooming Guyana and the Caribbean region by extension.
Also happy to recognize the role that the church has played historically in the development of our country, and the fact that in many, many cases, most cases, the church, this church in particular, and others too, has taken the side of the oppressed and taken the side of the poor in fighting for betterment in our society.
The Caribbean Baptist Fellowship General Assembly is being held under the theme "In Step with the Spirit, Free at Last." The Caribbean Baptists are affiliated with the Caribbean Baptist Fellowship and have been gathered at the Princess Guyana International Hotel for the General Assembly, which will conclude on November 9. The CBF is a voluntary fellowship of Baptist groups in the Caribbean region called into being by God for the purpose of working to fulfill the mission of Christ. It is also a regional entity of the Baptist World Alliance, which is expected to reflect and promote global Baptist concerns in the Caribbean.
Former Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Charles Ramson today took up a matter he deemed defamatory with the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry, expressing umbrage in a report carried on Tuesday in the Starbuck News, in which that newspaper quoted him as degrading the Guyana police force during the 1970s to 1980s. Details from Alexis Rodney.
Ramson's agitation came in wake of the Starbuck News publication and a statement released by the Guyana Trades Union Congress, a human rights organization which condemned the alleged remarks made by the appeal court judge. The resentment expressed saw the intervention of chairman of the commission, Sir Richard Cheltenham, who ordered a replay of Ramson's evidence. The testimony indicated that instead of monkey, as reported by the Starbuck News, Ramson had rather said hunky. The adjective was used by Ramson in his evidence on Monday while he was describing members of the police force during that period. He had earlier testified that the force was known to recruit men with a certain height and stature. That, he posited, was used as a form of intimidation. Chairman Cheltenham said he hoped the newspaper will take full responsibility for the error. Ramson expressed disappointment with both publications, noting that they were meant to defame his character. Human rights lawyer Selwyn Peters, who is also representing the GTUC, said that while the organization apologizes for the misinformation, it was very much concerned about the reported manner in which the former Attorney General had described Guyana's servicemen back then. Peters said too that Ramson, all throughout his cross-examination, had been making stereotyping remarks. The GTUC in its statement had noted too that Ramson was known to make such remarks. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
You'll now hear the president of the Guyana Postal and Telecommunication Workers Union is outraged that the Guyana Post Office Corporation was not approached by the government to facilitate the distribution of cash grants.
Harold Shepard said that the GPOC has always assisted government with the distribution of old age pensions, various benefit claims and other services, and as such he was expecting that it will have lent support to the distribution of the cash grant.
GPOC is a state-owned corporation, and over time the corporation would have been providing social services on behalf of government in terms of payment of old age pensioners, public assistance, CMAP and all of those things over the years. And GPOC being a state corporation, we are very peeved to know that government would have chosen a GPOC private competitor, to do the distribution and payments of those coupons.
Shepard says that the post office has been overlooked a number of times for such distributions, noting that the bills for Guyana Water Incorporated is just one example. The union president said that the utility company had indicated some concerns with the delivery of the bills in a timely manner, but the postal office has no control. This he blamed on the outdated database of the utility company, which ultimately affects the delivery.
The post office could have only done an efficient job in delivering those bills if GWS had updated its database, because all necessary remarks were placed on bills over the years, GWI bills, outlining specifically the reason for those bills being returned to GWI, so that they could have taken the necessary corrective measure, but it was never done.
Currently, the cash grants are redeemable at all Western Union outlets countrywide.
This is the Evening News. More news on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're watching the Evening News. I'm Michael Young. Thanks for staying with us. The Natural Resources Ministry has intensified its efforts to combat the scourge of garbage in the city and its environs by appointing several litter wardens. More details in this Jomo Paul report.
The Natural Resources Ministry, in collaboration with the Environmental Protection Agency, on Monday took initiative to appoint several more litter wardens. This comes as the city aspect of the $1 billion cleanup project is winding down, with several parts of Georgetown now free of garbage and clogged up drains. Officers from the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, the Guyana Forestry Commission, and the Harbour Masters and Public Health Officers were officially appointed as litter wardens. These newly appointed and empowered litter wardens of the Litter Prevention Regulation. This includes the offences, penalties and fines, and guidance on standard operating procedures with respect to identifying offences, collecting and giving evidence in court against an offender. Any persons found guilty of littering are liable to a fine of $50,000 or 3 months in prison. Businesses can also be fined up to $100,000. For the Evening News, Jomo Paul.
Thanks, Vanu. The 39th meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development opened on Thursday with great expectation of rebuilding the public's confidence in the Caribbean community. Details in this Svetlana Marshall report.
Cognizant of the challenges facing the Caribbean community, CARICOM Quartet's chairman Arnold J. Nicholson and CARICOM General Secretary Erwin LaRocque have called on CARICOM states to give their unwavering support as the turnaround plan takes precedence. Nicholson said there is an urgent need for the public's confidence and trust to be restored in the region's capacity to promote and accelerate economic development. He said CARICOM could be fashioned into a vehicle that is rules-based, action-oriented and equitable for all member states in a quest to achieve its full potential.
It is vital, therefore, that the decisions which we take at this quoted session be rooted in our collective understanding that the objectives of the community for improved standards of living and work must be realized for all our peoples. It is essential that the outcome of this meeting help to restore public confidence and trust in the capacity of our regional endeavor to promote accelerated economic development and convergence and be non-discriminatory. It is necessary for our deliberations to promote the development of the CARICOM single market and economy, with equal emphasis on enhancing the production, marketing, and export of both goods and services.
Echoing similar sentiments, Ambassador LaRocque in his deliberations said significant steps have been made in creating and sustaining a Caribbean community, but there is room for improvement.
Issues have been before us for some time now. And when I ask myself how much progress we have made on them, I have to answer, in all honesty, not enough. Not enough to satisfy ourselves or the citizens of the community whom we are here to serve.
To combat these challenges, Ambassador LaRocque said heads of government have mandated the implementation of two measures: the creation of the first ever community strategic plan and the reform of the governance and operations of all parts of the community, starting with the Secretariat. Preparation for the implementation of the strategic plan is nearing completion and would be presented to the Communities Council in January. While the plan awaits implementation, reformation of the Secretariat has commenced, though it is in its early stages. Foreign Affairs Minister Carolyn Rodrigues-Burkett led the Guyana delegation to the meeting, which is being held at the Pegasus Hotel, Kingston, Georgetown. The 39th meeting of Quartet concluded earlier today with renewed commitment towards sustainable economic growth and development.
Thanks, Jomo. A team of doctors representing Doctors International recently completed 42 urology-based surgeries in Guyana. Jomo Paul has details again in this report.
A group of urologists and surgeons in closely related fields recently conducted a missionary trip in Guyana. The doctors, who hail from the George Washington University in the United States, were able to complete over 40 fairly complicated surgeries in the past week. These operations were conducted at the Georgetown Public Hospital and the Western Memorial Regional Hospital. Head of the GPHC's Urology Department, Dr. Krish Prasad, praised the doctors for their work. He noted that through their continued visits, they have been able to impart some vital knowledge with respect to urology.
Much like the previous visit, the George Washington team, as well as my local team, shortlisted some patients that we thought would benefit the most from their visit, and we were able to successfully complete about 15 urologic cases at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Some of them routine, others much more complex. And with them, like the last time, they bring a high standard of patient care and delivery and work ethics. And it's not just about them working well as their team, but they've worked very well with their local counterparts as well.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Dr. Barry Ramsaran also noted that the doctors were able to train nurses and doctors in the application of advanced anesthesiology techniques.
Our guys in anesthesiology decided that they wanted more training in epidurals. That is, giving the anesthesia not by mask or not putting you to sleep fully, but giving it somewhere in the spinal area so that you will be fully awake and the surgeries can be done, allowing you to wake up early or not even go to sleep, and a lot of advantages. So although our doctors did know and did practice epidural anesthesia, they were not probably as comfortable as persons from Washington were. Officially invite.
The team, which has been making regular trips to Guyana over the past 2 years, took time to reflect on the time it spent here.
I'm humbled by the opportunity to be able to teach, to be able to learn, and to be able to work with the people here to give back and to help those people who really need the help.
A very humbling experience for all of us. I think we take a lot for granted in the U.S. For the things that we have, and we learned a lot about how lucky we are north of here in practicing medicine by coming last year. But it also helped us to identify some needs that we hope were addressed during this visit. This visit, in turn, will help us to address needs that can be met in future visits.
For the evening news, Juma Paul.
A total of 14 littering cases were brought before the court last week, 2 of which were successfully prosecuted and the remainder pending trial. Details in this Royden James report.
Litter wardens will now be patrolling the streets of Georgetown and regions in Guyana to enforce the provisions of the litter prevention regulations. Already, 2 litter cases were already prosecuted. For one of the cases, the offender paid a fine of $160,000, $100,000 for littering, $30,000 for failure to comply with cleanup order, and $30,000 for failure to comply with litter warden. The other offender paid a fine of $130,000, $100,000 for litter, and $30,000 for attempting to bribe a litter warden. Under the litter regulations, it is an offense to litter in a public place, particularly to deposit litter in a public place, to deposit litter from a moving vehicle onto a public place, and to cause or permit persons to commit the above offenses. Anyone found guilty of any of these offenses shall be liable to a fine of between $50,000 or 3 months imprisonment in the case of an individual. In the case of a business entity, a fine of $100,000 will have to be paid. A workshop was organized on Thursday by the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment in collaboration with the Environmental Protection Agency at Hermanston Lodge to appoint the litter prevention wardens. Royden James reporting for the Evening News.
With the reconvening of the National Assembly set for Monday, earlier today, the Evening News took its cameras to the streets for persons to share their thoughts on the burning issue. Here are details in this report.
In light of the reconvening of the National Assembly, which is set for this Monday, today the Evening News took its cameras to the streets where persons commented on the current issues affecting Parliament.
I believe the local government will change everything, right?
And what do you think about the no confidence motion?
Well, we had confidence in them.
I terribly feel that these people should really sit down and stop fooling around, because I mean, it's people's lives. They're just walking in and out, and this has been going on for years now. They're just walking in and out of Parliament all the time. Nobody's doing anything about it. The opposition, neither the position government in present.
First of all, I would like to say that I have no confidence in this government, and I think I can speak on behalf of majority of the people of Guyana. We need a lot of money to be invested in education. They need proper roads, So I think that there's a lot of corruption going on in Guyana.
Reporting for the Evening News, I am Royden James.
Your regional and international news are next. You're watching the Evening News. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with the Evening News. Together, let's have a look at your regional and international news. Regionally, the United States underwater archaeologists say they have discovered a lost Dutch warship that sank 337 years ago in Tobago. The team, led by Dr. Kuram Bashavau of the University of Connecticut, after years of searching, has identified the remains of what may be the largest Dutch ship involved in a 1677 battle that influenced the course of history in the Caribbean. The Rockley Bay Research Project is a joint initiative of the University of Connecticut and the Institute of Nautical Archaeology at Texas A&M, with the participation of the Lampeter Dendrochronological Laboratory of Professor Nigel Nailin from the University of Wales, Trinity, and in St. David, working in cooperation with the Tobago House of Assembly and the Tobago Ministry of Tourism. Dr. Bashir Rao made it clear that all of the discoveries of the artifacts remain the property of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, internationally, at least 10 people have been killed in a bomb blast as they queued to withdraw money from a cash machine in northern Nigeria. Security operatives say a female suicide bomber was responsible for the attack in the Bauchi state. No group has said it carried out the attack, but suspicion is likely to fall on the Islamist militant group Boko Haram. The group has killed thousands since 2009 in its campaign to set up an Islamic State in northeastern Nigeria. Boko Haram has in the past claimed responsibility for similar attacks in the north. The attack took place outside the branch of the First Bank in Azir, not far from the bus station where a bomb killed several people last month. One eyewitness told the BBC he heard an explosion and he then turned to see clouds of smoke. It's now time for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed from 5 hours 30 on Saturday, November 8 for a period of 1.5 hours. The Burbage River Bridge is expected to be closed from 6 hours 40 on Saturday, November 8 for a period of 1.5 hours. Do join us after these messages. Your sport news is next.
Every day presents a few more challenges. Keeping your business running shouldn't be one of them. That's why we work every day towards ensuring your overall satisfaction. With over 100 skilled technicians and engineers equipped with the tools and skills to help you do more. With the largest parts inventory in Guyana, over 10,000 line items readily available. Driven by your success is not just a set of words to us. It is a code by which we live. That is why we are proud to say that we are Littering!
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. So let's take a look at your sport headlines. Windies women lose to Australia again. Humphrey Memorial cycling set for tomorrow. And Southland International joins ban of sponsors for Motor Racing Championship. The news comes to you with the kind compliments of Macorp.
Every day presents a few more challenges. Keeping your business running shouldn't be one of them. That's why we work every day towards ensuring your overall satisfaction. With over 100 skilled technicians and engineers equipped with the tools and skills to help you do more. With the largest parts inventory in Guyana, over 10,000 line items readily available. Driven by your success is not just a set of words to us. It is a code by which we live. That is why we are proud to say that we are Littering!
It's now time for a look at your news in detail. A superb attacking half-century by player of the match Stephanie Taylor was not enough as West Indies women went under by 4 wickets to Australia women in the third T20 International on Friday. Taylor's top score of 78 was the foundation of the Caribbean side's 149 for 6 off their 20 overs. But the hosts rallied around Captain Meg Lanning's 51 and an unbeaten 25 off 12 balls from Alisa Haley to get home with a ball remaining in the contest at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The result, the third straight loss for the Windies women, handed Australia the series with 1 game still left to be played on Sunday. Southland International Incorporated, through its recently acquired Carlsberg brand, has joined forces with the Guyana Motor Racing and Sports Club for the next weekend's Caribbean Motor Racing Championships. Details from Avinash Ramzan.
During a simple ceremony at the Guyana Motor Racing and Sports Club on Albert Street, officials of Southland International were on hand to present their company's sponsorship to executives of the GMRNSC. Secretary of the GMRNSC, Kerry Griffith, and Treasurer Hans Rat Singh both expressed pleasure at welcoming the company on board for the first time at the country's premier motor racing event.
And we're pleased to have Carlsberg and Southland on board with us, and they've come and pitched in a huge support to make motor racing, keep motor racing going and keep us enjoying what we do and participating in what we do.
It's a new company, and GMRNSC is now, chartering new waters in terms of we just recently got affiliated with the FIA, and we plan to take motorsport to a different level. So all these partnerships are very good for us in terms of moving the sport forward and making it the leading sport in Guyana. As you would know, motor racing is currently the fastest growing sport in the Caribbean as we speak.
Chief Executive Officer of Southland International, Irsad Zamal, said the brand Carlsberg is not new to sport but is making its first entry into sport on the local scene.
We are happy to be on board and to ride along on this new journey, and just as one of our major brands, Carlsberg Beer, they are an elite sponsor of the Barclays Premier League, which is known globally, and Southland, like Carlsberg Breweries, we are happy to be part of such a growing sport in the region as well.
The Caribbean Motor Racing Championship is slated for November 16 at the South Dakota Circuit, with top drivers and riders from Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean set to clash in what is expected to be a day of speed, thrills and spills.
Thanks, Avinash. Organized by Roraima Bikers Club, the 17th annual Troy Humphrey Memorial Cycling Program will be staged tomorrow around the inner circuit of the National Park, beginning at 9:30. The cycle meet was originally scheduled for October 25, but due to other engagements at the venue, the meet was postponed. The 8-race program is being staged in memory of a former leading cyclist whose life was snuffed out following an accident in 1996 when his motorcycle collided with another vehicle on Carifesta Avenue. 8 races are carded for the day, and all the top performers will be rewarded with cash. And that has brought us to the end of the evening news for tonight, Friday, November 7, 2014. Please remember to get a copy of tomorrow's edition of the Ghana Times for details of these stories and others. I'm Michael Young, thanking you very much for joining us. Be well.